welcome back everybody. We're going to do a tomato review on this tomato right here, and it's called the Maltitzer Braune Tomato. I think that's how you pronounce that. And it's a nice tomato. I believe this is a dwarf variety. I don't remember offhand. The frost that came in this year came in extra early, so it wiped out pretty much 50% of my crop, and so I just had to pick whatever was left on the plants, and some of the plants didn't fruit until really late this year because I didn't get started, so unfortunately I didn't get too many of these tomatoes. We're going to regrow it next year, and hopefully we get started early and not do what I did like I did this year and get started in May and June to plant my tomatoes. So let's take a look at this. Generally it's a nice tomato. It's got a nice copper tone top on it, which is kind of unusual. It's got a little frostbite here, unfortunately, but I think we can still taste test this side of the tomato. And I'll give you an idea what the weight is on this tomato. I'm not 100% sure. Probably about 4.5 ounces, my guess. That's my guess. I'll back you out a little bit. Alright, so it's, for some reason it's reading in grams. I don't know why it's doing that. But it's basically 4.1 ounces. That's what that tomato is weighing. Unfortunately, I don't have too many more to weigh for you. So, let's cut this bad boy in half. See what it looks like on the inside. Hopefully that doesn't get too gushy because it did freeze on one side, as you can see. But look at that. Look at the inside of that tomato. That is absolutely gorgeous looking on the inside. This is going to be a wonderful review. And that is a very nice looking tomato. Wow, that's a lot of flesh on the inside. Nice thick center part over there. Let's break out the bricks and do a bricks on it. Yeah, like I said, part of the tomato froze. Got whacked by the frost, which is a shame because I was waiting for this tomato, the first one to ripen. All the green ones are already 3/4 of the way frozen. Alright, it's a 4 on the bricks, which I'm a little surprised. It looks like a lot better than it would be a 4. But alright, that's what it says. That's what it is. So let's cut a piece off of that there tomato, and let's give that a go. Okay, so let's go over with the sweetness. The sweetness was a little above average. I'm going to say the sweetness on this was probably around a 27, so it was a little higher than the average tomato. So it did have a nice amount of sweetness, but it wasn't a sugary type of sweetness. It was more like a wilding type of mellowing type of sweetness. It wasn't sweet like sugary. So it had the typical sweetness for a tomato this size, these type of tomatoes. Now, as far as tangy, it was a little higher than that. We're going to say about 30, 31 on the tangy. So it was kind of up there, and it was a good balance between the sweetness and sugar. You always want the tangy a little bit more than the sweetness, or else that balance is kind of really off. You don't want them perfectly the same. With the tomato flavor was up there. This thing had a good tomato flavor and real nice taste, very prominent within the tomato flavor profile itself. This particular tomato, I'm going to put this at about a 7. Had a very good tomato flavor when you first eat it. It followed through all the way to the aftertaste, and then it lingers around a little bit and it draws you back for that other piece. That's what I'm looking for in a good tomato flavor when it comes to when it comes to tomato flavor. That's what I'm looking for, a good number that brings you back to the tomato. This tomato definitely delivers that package. So we're going to say about a 7 on a tomato flavor. Again, when I talk about tomato flavor, we're talking about how strong was the flavor in the whole tomato profile. We're not talking about how good it tastes. I'm not rating it on that. That rating is specifically on how dominant was that flavor in the whole tomato profile. The moisture, we'll go about a 6.5 on this moisture. It was a little on the upside, but this has also been sitting on my table for a little bit. And so we're going to go a little higher than that. We're going to say 6.5 on the moisture. It's a perfect amount of moisture to deliver that tomato package. It was really good. Tardy, I didn't pick up any tardiness, but there may have been a little something down there on the bottom. I'd probably say it was way less than 1, so you could say less than 1, but there was a little, maybe something going on. Just didn't detect it very strong, and it didn't activate my those glands behind my jaw. As far as the undertones, I didn't pick up any undertones, but the flavor itself had an interesting flavor. It had a really interesting type of flavor. It was not your atypical flavor. This thing was a little on the strange side. had a strange type of flavor. It was nice though. It was a very nice, strange. When I say strange, I mean exotic like. It did not have your atypical flavor. It was definitely some kind of something exotic about it. So yeah, it did have something on the undertones, I guess you want to say. I'll probably put that at about a 1.5, maybe 2. There was something going on there, but I can't tell if it was coupled with the flavor or is that the flavor of the tomato. What I can say is that that undertone, that distinctive undertone flavor to it was definitely interesting. It's worth checking out. I'm going to be growing this one again next year too, by the way. Texture was good. I'm going to go average on the texture, maybe even a little higher on that. It chewed up really nice. It holds the moisture very well. This tomato, it doesn't like, it's not like, like kind of wet all around the seeds where all the moisture is in the seeds and then the flesh itself is dry. It wasn't that kind of an experience. The whole tomato melts in your mouth. You let them ripen up a little bit, get them nice and ripen like you just seen, and it'll melt in your mouth. And so we're definitely going to go a little higher with the texture. We'll go 5.5, I think, on the texture would be good. Production, this year, again, I got hit with frost, so I couldn't really complete the production cycle. So, unfortunately, I can't really rate that. For this year, we're just going to rate it as average because I couldn't really give it a good, solid analysis on the production because of that reason. So let's see, we're moving over to skins. Skins seemed like they were a little bit tough, but yeah, they're all right. You were able to chew them up and everything, and I didn't really have a problem with it. It wasn't really thick skins where I'm spitting them out of my mouth or anything. Okay, so with skins, we're going to go a little bit higher than average. We're going to go about a 3 on the skins. And skins, normally with skins, you want to be right in the middle when I rate this. Skins very high in the scale means that they're very tough and they were hard to chew. You have to spit them out. There's no way you're going to swallow them. Skins on the other end of the scale is they're very thin and they're like a cellophane plastic and they stick to the roof of your mouth and you can't get that skin off the roof of your mouth. You literally got to get some kind of a tool in your mouth to scrape that skin off your mouth because it's so thin. It's like a cellophane plastic. So thicker, thinner. You want to be right in the middle when it comes to skins. That's how I set the rating up for that one. This was a little bit on the thicker side, so it was a little thicker, but it was still chewable. It was a manageable type skin. It wasn't anything, it wasn't anything that was too unpleasant as far as the skin goes. Moving over to seeds, I'm going to put that at average. It's just the average amount of seeds, nothing special. Just your atypical amount of seeds. So how would I rate this tomato from a 1 to 10 with 1 being the highest? This is a very delicious tomato. I'm going to put this tomato at a number 2. A lot of things ranked really high. I was very impressed with that undertone flavor more than anything with this tomato. That undertone or flavor, tomato flavor itself was very strange and exotic like. It didn't taste like a normal tomato to me. It tasted like tomato, but there was a certain flavor to this thing that was exotic. So we're definitely going to be revisiting this tomato next year just to kind of get an idea on whether or not this is going to be a viable variety to grow in the future. So anyway, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the information in the description below. I'm also going to put a link below where it'll take you over to the website and you can buy seeds there if you decide that you want to give this tomato a grow. And that was really it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.